Majority Leader Eric Cantor, who made a major foreign policy address today, focusing in part on Syria. Leader Cantor, you've seen the horrific photos out of Syria, and you've just heard was reporting. Last fall, you said you were going to vote to allow the president to use force in Syria. Obviously, never came to that. Is now the time?
Well, Aaron, clearly there's a humanitarian catastrophe in Syria, but there is also a residue of America drawing a red line and failing to live up to its word. I'm very concerned about our reliance on Vladimir Putin and the UN to try and dismantle the chemical weapons in Syria. It's been 6 months, perhaps, since the agreement has materialized, and yet Assad is still there, the chemical weapons are still there, and there are a lot of people that are being killed, and frankly, America's reputation as a leader has been severely tarnished. So I believe that we need an America that leads, which means an America that will bring together our allies and work to defend the moderates over the extremists in Syria. Now, this is not without risk, and it's not going to be pretty or easy, but I hate to think of the future of those moderate fighters in Syria or ours if we do not attempt to try and lead and bring our partners together.
And so when you say there's a risk, and I guess let's just point it to you, let me put this on the table here point blank. I mean, that means you're willing to accept the fact that we may fund some quote-unquote bad guys, that some American weapons may get in the hands of people that America doesn't want to have happen at all, right? Sort of like what happened in Afghanistan back when the U.S. assisted the Taliban. I mean, this is a risk we have to take, in your view. Because, I mean, I guess we have to accept that that might happen if you do arm the rebels, right?
Well, I think there's no clear-cut, definitive outcome in any challenge that America takes abroad. Or policies, frankly, that we implement at home. I think we have to go and be calculated and understand that America is a force for freedom. I think the American people expect an America that leads. We know that the number of foreign fighters flowing into Syria now exceed the number that were in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Fair.
And so we know also that the Secretary of Homeland Security, as well as the Secretary and leaders in our intelligence communities have said this month that foreign fighters, the jihadists who are there, represent now a threat to us because they're armed with Western passports. So I think we've seen now and learned the lessons of history. America has to lead. You know, I would say that, the president, when he drew the red line and called for regime change, I think the maxim of Lyndon Baines Johnson, which said if you're going to tell a man to go to hell, you better make sure you send him there. And that's been violated here. Finally,
obviously, the George Washington Bridge scandal has hurt Chris Christie dramatically in the polls, as you're well aware of this. In independents, that crucial middle swath of voters, his approval rating has dropped from 59% to 39%. I mean, it's an incredible plunge. Do you think Chris Christie did anything wrong?
I know there's a lot of attention being to that issue around the George Washington Bridge. I can tell you that Chris Christie has been a great leader for the state of New Jersey, and the things that went on there, I'm sure he is on top of. Look, Aaron, if the question is about 2016, first of all, we have an election in 2014, which we're in the House very focused on, and I predict that Republicans in the House will pick up seats, and possibly Republicans will take the Senate. But think about the working middle class right now that is traveling across that George Washington Bridge or anywhere else in the country. They really aren't focused on electoral politics right now. They're focused on what Washington can do to help them get back to work, to help them see a bigger paycheck and have more opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you very much. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor, appreciate your time.
Aaron, thank you.